Yeah, well, the good news is that both Mitch Jeter and Alex Herrera came out of spring on a really positive note, and both stepped up, competed, performed well, kicking the ball off, not just with field goals. So it was a really nice feeling as a coach to say, okay, we've got two real good quality guys here. And then Daniel Lester's coming in now and spent the summer with us, and I'm excited to see what he can bring to the table as well. But it's really good to have competition because it's only going to make those guys better. We're going to have plenty of opportunities to put them in pressure situations during preseason, and there's really no rush to figure out who's going to kick field goals for us against Georgia State. So I'm anxious to let it play out, and we chart everything right down to the minutia, whether it's a full team field goal situation or we're just doing full operation stuff with our specialists. So we'll have plenty of data to fall back on, and those guys will be able to see their progress as camp goes on.
Are you one of the coaches that maybe I've seen coaches in the past, they might say, all right, the whole team has to run. If you miss this, how do you put pressure? How do you simulate a pressure situation with your guys?
Well, one thing I'm very grateful for is that Coach Beamer is very good about giving us time for field goals during practice. So on almost every single preseason practice, we have scheduled team field goal. So those guys are going to have a lot of opportunities to have to perform in front of their teammates, and then in scrimmages and so forth. And I've got that all scripted out. So it's different field locations. It's different distances. It's different hashes. And so we'll have a really good kind of in-depth sense of who can do what and how consistent they are at it.
Appreciate
All right, my pleasure. All right, very good. Mike, good to see you. That was really cool what you did with your dad.
With Coach?
Yeah.
I'm surprised him. He was really excited
Yeah.
about that. He's getting fired up. They have their meeting on Tuesday. So
Very good.
getting ready.
Very good.
I'll have just one question. It's
Sure.
It's a simple one.
Sure.
But as Marcus and Lembo were talking about this the other day, what would your message be to the younger players? He said, make special teams, get on special teams. How do you emphasize that? I'm sure it goes back all the way to recruiting, but would you guys here to really buy into it? I mean, is it as simple as pointing at a Nick Muse, for example, and saying, look, this is a guy who's able to raise his draft stock. How do you get those guys on?
Well, it's funny you say that because that is one of my PowerPoint slides in the first meeting, is talking about a guy like Nick who really went from probably being a free agent to being a seventh-round draft choice because he had 176 snaps on special teams in his senior year and was really able to raise his stock. So those examples are excellent, but really where it starts is our culture. And a day doesn't go by here where Coach Beamer or Luke Day, our strength coach, or Derek Moore in player development, or myself who gets an opportunity to coach every guy on the roster, doesn't talk about our culture, our values, what we want to be, how we want to live, how we want to be perceived as a program. And nothing is more visible and tangible than how we perform on special teams. Because if we truly are about the love and being reliable and trustworthy and bringing energy to what we do and holding ourselves accountable and competing and all those things, they all manifest themselves on special teams. So where I start is if you're on board about being a South Carolina Gamecock in this program right now in 2022, then you should be really excited to cover kicks and to be on the punt team and all of those types of things because they go hand in hand.
We saved that red shirt after those 4 games, which obviously is tremendously high in comparison to what it used to be. If players make a big impact on special teams, is that something that you can see, hey, we can't just take them for a year, but decisions?
Well, the great thing for me is I'm always thinking about that stuff because I was a head coach for half of my career and I'm just wired that way. So when we are using one of those young players on units, I'm going to be very aware and very cognizant of that. And if it's a guy who's going to play an exceptional amount of reps in a game, then it's probably worth continuing to play him. But if it's just on one unit, I try to think ahead and say, okay, if we're going to play that guy here, then who do we have that can step into that role 4 games from now? Or maybe we want to save that guy for a bowl game and still have 1 game left that he can play on that red shirt. There may be injuries to his offensive or defensive position where we need to utilize him later in the season. So it's very much a matrix, and you're very much looking at the entire roster all the time. We actually break it down by body types, not just by positions, and that really helps us find the right guys for the right roles. All right, my pleasure.